Welcome back, everyone. So in this video, let's tidy up our payment form component to make it more user-friendly. We need to put in a real amount, and we also need to perhaps block the button or show some kind of pending state when this payment is going through. Because usually with card payments, it's probably one of the most tense moments for anyone from a user experience standpoint. E-commerce typically really has a high need for security as well as a positive user experience, just because, again, parting with money is one of the most painful things that a user can go through. So what we want to do is we want to import in the useState hook from React, because we're going to hold some state that will determine whether or not we're in a loading state for making a payment. We also need to bring in the useSelector hook because we're going to need to pull off two values. One is the current user, the other is the actual amount. So in order to pull those off, of course, we need our selectors. So let's bring in our select cart total from our store and our cart selector. And similarly, let's also bring in our select current user from our store, our user, and our user selector. So now that we have our two selectors, what we want to do is we want to come down into our actual component so that we can actually pull off these values. So first I'm going to say const amount is equal to useSelector select cart total. And then what I'm also going to get is the current user. Const current user is equal to useSelector select current user. With these values now, what we're going to do is we are going to pass this amount value in instead of our hard-coded value. And we need to make sure that this is equal to amount multiplied by 100, because currently our values are stored as whole dollars. So by multiplying it by 100, we're converting it into the cents value, which is how Stripe expects all of its payment values. As for current user, now what we can say is that the name goes to, we can say if current user exists, then we'll use current user dot display name. Otherwise, we can put, let's say, guest. Typically what you would do here is inside of the checkout flow, you would have more forms, more fields. You would ask for their email, you would ask for their shipping address, etc. But again, we're just trying to get a lean actual card payment here. You can add more of them if you want. Again, the docs are pretty straightforward. I'm just going to use the basic card form just to show you the actual integration. If you want to expand on this feature, of course, feel free to do so. Here we have our completed actual intent now and the actual payment. But what we also want to do is we want to have some kind of loading state for the user. So this is where we might do something like const is processing payment. And we'll say set is processing payment. This will be useState of a Boolean value, and by default it's false. And what we'll do is we can actually disable our button if this is in some type of state like this. So here what I'm going to do is I am going to say that this button is disabled if is processing payment is true. So in order for this to be true, what we need to do is set it to true when this payment is happening. So here inside, the moment that we pass this point and we're about to start a fetch, here we're going to set is processing payment to true. And the point when we know that we have it back and we're done processing is when we hit this portion. We're either going to have an error or we're going to succeed, but it's all synchronous. So here we can set is processing to false. And now if we come back to the application inside of our React application, and I insert in a test card, and I hit pay now, there you should now see that this button is disabled. Meaning that if I keep clicking it, nothing will happen. Notice how we just get the one alert. But however, the thing is that this is not that, from a UI standpoint, clear to us that this button is disabled. So we can even go a step further and improve upon our button component. What I want to do is come in here, and I am actually going to create a spinner state for this. So first off, what I also want to do is I want to expand upon the functionality. I'm actually going to put a isLoading prop that we can conditionally pass in. If this gets passed in, then what we'll do is on the button itself, we'll say disabled isLoading. So now we don't have to code it. However, if there is another condition that would disable this, meaning that if we wanted to pass in disabled for something else, our other prop spread will overwrite this disabled value. So now this gives us both functionalities. What we also want to do is we want to be able to show a loading spinner instead of the actual text inside this button. What I'm going to do is I am going to go into button styles, and I'm going to make another spinner. So for this spinner, what I want you to do is you can pretty much just take the spinner that we already have inside of styles and copy this over. If you wanted to import this from the spinner styles, you can do that as well. So in order to do that, you would just have to copy it over, but I want to tweak the width and the height. So this is why I want to copy this over. But actually, let me show you. We can do this inside of button. We can modify it. We can import in the spinner container from, and we're going to go up to our spinner component, and we're going to target specifically spinner styles. And here with the spinner container, what we're going to say is export const button spinner is a styled version of spinner container. So remember, you can pass it any style component, overwrite any of the styling. The reason why is because I want the width to be smaller. I'm going to do width 30 pixels, height 30 pixels. So I'm just reducing the actual size. Everything else, I'm going to keep the exact same. The other thing I'm going to want to do is up here inside of the actual base button, I'm also going to make sure that I vertically align this component. So I'm going to say align items center. And now we just need to copy the button spinner over. And then what we can say is that inside of here, if isLoading is true, then show the button spinner. Otherwise, show the children. So if no value gets passed for isLoading, of course, isLoading is going to be undefined, which is falsy, which will default show the children. So here, this is our new and improved button component. In order for us to use this, it's already here. If anything, I might just want to make sure that this is showing the inverted button type, which it already is. So let's save this and let's go check. Let's just refresh for good measure. And now the total is 540. Here for the card number, I'm going to do 42424242. Oh, looks like I mistyped one of these values. 42424242. 4242. There we go. Okay, as long as this is correct and the date is forward, everything else doesn't matter. I hit pay now. And there I see payment successful. We didn't see the loader. Of course, it's because I did not modify this from disable to isLoading like this. Let's resave. Let's go back. Let's refresh. Inside again of our card number 4242 4242 4242 4242 42424. Pay now. There, we see our loader. This tells us that we're prompted. Payment successful. And there we go. Any other tweaks we can make? We could, of course, improve upon this button as well. We can give it a little bit more spacing. So what we could do is import in the button from our button / button component. And then we can call this our payment button, which is equal to styled button. Whoop, here we go. And let's say, for example, we wanted something like maybe a margin, or let's do a margin. Let's margin left auto so that we push it all the way to the right. And then let's do a margin top of 30 pixels. Now, of course, everything on this button is going to behave like a custom button that we've made. So instead of importing in button, we can just import in from our own payment form styles, the payment button, and we can just replace the button with our payment button. And now, there we go. It looks a little better. We hit pay now, the spinner occurs, and then the payment's successful. What you can also do is you can fire an action to clear the cart from this point. Again, whatever you think you want to do to make this experience more fluid from a user experience standpoint, you now have every single skill. You have use of sagas, you know how to use your selectors, you know how to use your actions, you know how to use these components. I have now taught you every single thing you need in order to improve this experience however you want. So really, this is my challenge to you now. You can make an order confirmation page. You can do whatever you want, because after this step, we actually see inside of Stripe, if we refresh, we should see multiple payments now, all for that 540 amount that we have made recently. Here, there we see it. Every time we fired it off, we were successful. We had our guest because currently, of course, we are not logged in. But if we're signed in, they see our username instead. So let's try this with our actual account. 1234, 1234. We'll sign in. We'll go to our checkout. I don't want to save that. I'm going to do this card. Pay now. Payment successful. And now if I refresh, we see my display name. We fully integrated with Stripe. There you go. This is now a fully fledged out, honestly, pretty decently working e-commerce website. There's additional security checks you can add, of course, for Stripe. But again, it's just about sifting through the documentation, adding some additional configuration patterns. Most of that, though, is not the core base of what we need. From a functionality goes, you have a fully fleshed out e-commerce website. A lot of these patterns will scale. Really, at this point, it's just about expanding upon your inventory, adding more features, changing the UI so that maybe it's a little prettier. But this is the very last feature as far as adding additional functionality to this website goes. So now in the next video, let's push this up and make sure that our Netlify also builds out the functions. And to do that, we'll have to tweak our Netlify settings a little bit. So join me in the next video where we will deploy this. I'll see you in the next video.